Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be how to become an alpha male. Well, I've got 3 different emails I'm going to go through with you today. And what we're going to really look at and delve into today is what the embodiment of a masculine alpha male is really all about, and how when a guy's not centered in his purpose and his mission, it tends to show up in other areas of his life and affect everything. It inhibits his ability to have good, healthy, drama-free, effortless, intimate type of relationships. It inhibits his ability to deal properly with money and his finances. It inhibits his ability to take proper care of his body, to love himself. It inhibits his friendships with other people. And obviously, overall, it impacts dramatically his overall sense of health, happiness, and personal well-being. So before we get into it, I got a short quote that I wrote that I want to share with you. And it says, in order for a man to become an alpha male, he must have a strong and unbending sense of self and be strongly rooted in a clear vision, purpose, and mission for his life. The more adrift a man is without goals, ambition, focus, or an emotionally compelling vision for his life, the more he will struggle in his intimate relationships with money, health, friendships, addictions, bad habits, procrastination, and trying to attain and maintain inner peace, happiness, and fulfillment. So let's get into the first guy's email. He says, "Hey Corey, I watched all of your YouTube videos since discovering your work in mid-October, and I'm about to read your book for the 3rd time. I've been married for 16 years, and we have 3 lovely children, with the youngest having Down syndrome. Our children have taken all our time as they have activities 6 nights a week. Anyway, my problem is that my wife is leaving me due to me sex texting someone else, which happened 3 times, and the last time that this happened in November of last year. Remember what you've probably heard me say many times if you've been watching my videos, that women want to feel more special than anyone. Like if you're a single guy and you're dating, they want to know that you think that they're more special than all the other girls that you know or that you're dating. Obviously, in this particular case, you're married. And so when you engage in that kind of behavior, you communicate through your actions that your wife is not the most special woman in your life. And you got to ask yourself, why is that? It's easy, because a lot of times guys, especially been married as long as you've been married, that what happens is they get caught up, they get busy. They stop courting and dating their wife, and just like you said, you got 6 nights a week, your kids got activities that you're involved in. And how can you ever have the time if you ever take the time? I mean, when it comes to setting dates, if you don't date or court your wife properly, some other guy eventually will come along and court her for you. And so something that you really should think about and consider is, what was the real reason that you were sex texting another woman? Was it because you weren't happy? Had you become bored with your wife? Did you make a bad decision to get married to somebody that you should have never married in the first place? Kind of like what I did. If you read my book, like I talked about when I was in my 20s, just because I was weak. A lot of guys do that. A lot of people, men and women both do that. They just marry the first person that comes along that they're really kind of steady with, thinking, hey, this is the best that I'm going to get. And as they grow and they go through life and they meet other people, they meet someone that they actually end up connecting with a lot better than the person that they're with. And so you got to consider all those things, because one thing that guys never consider is that when they get dumped or they get blown off or the relationship ends, even if they weren't putting their best foot forward, they ignore the reasons why they stopped putting their best foot forward. They think, oh, this is the love of my life, I got to get her back. But 9 times out of 10, especially with guys dating somebody and he screws up or the relationship ends for whatever reason, maybe he takes her for granted, maybe he breaks up with her and then wants to go back to her a few months later because he hasn't found anybody better. Most of the time, once they get back together, they're only there for 3, maybe 6 months max, and then they end up breaking up for good. And so you got to look at that. You got to self-analyze and say, what was the reason why you stopped putting your best foot forward? It's important, also, if you don't have a really happy life, if you're not really centered in your purpose and your mission and what you do and your career or your business, whatever it is that you happen to do for a living, a lot of times guys that are not reaching their full potential, they're not really stretching, they start to look towards things like having affairs. Like I've got a buddy of mine who I've spoken about him a few times. He has a child with a woman he's been dating off and on for about the past 5 or 6 years. And he's always sleeping with 3 or 4 other women because to him it's the challenge, it's the newness. What's really going on at the deepest level is he doesn't have the courage and the confidence to go for the kind of woman that he really wants. He's not growing his business and doing the kinds of things that he really wants to do because he really doesn't have anything going on in his life that he's really excited about. In other words, that's emotionally compelling. Yeah, he makes a good living and he makes decent money, but he could be making a lot more money if he was really into what he's doing. And so a lot of areas of his life, he's kind of just half-assing it, if you will. And so since he's half-assing it in his purpose and his mission life, he also kind of, in essence, dicks around, pun intended, in his intimate relationships. In other words, he just tends to get trapped in kind of mediocre, but never really works on becoming the man he needs to be in order to get a spectacular woman in his life. Because if you have a spectacular woman in your life, you're not going to get bored of her. Even if you do have a spectacular woman in your life and you ultimately get bored of her, you're certainly not, out of respect for her, you're not going to go and screw around behind her back because you know that would be the unloving thing to do. The more manly thing to do is, if you know that that's not the person you're going to be with anymore, is have the balls to leave that person, because it doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve her to stay in that relationship if it's not really everything that you really deep down know you deserve and want. And then in that particular case, if it's not, you'd be much better served, and so would your children, if you leave and then do the work on yourself that you need to do in order to become the kind of man that you're capable of becoming, so you can attract that super high quality woman, so you can have a great healthy relationship with her. So he says, anyways, my problem is that my wife is leaving due to my sex text cheating, which has happened 3 times, the last being November last year, and since then I behaved in the classic feminine way that you describe in your book, trying to get my wife to forgive my errors. We tried counseling, which was a complete disaster. Although my wife expresses it's over, and she states she hasn't written us off completely, my wife and children are moving out next weekend to a property close by, and I'm totally at a loss on how to try and save my marriage, and your advice would be sincerely appreciated. Well, obviously she's moving out in a matter of days at this particular point in time, and so there's not a lot you can do about that. She has to want to come back and want to see you and want to date you and want to spend time with you. And so the best thing that you can do is get back to being the centered guy that you were before you got into the relationship. That means you get involved with your friends and you have interests and you have hobbies and you have things that excite you. If your career is kind of stagnated, maybe it's time to change companies that you work for. Maybe look for a new career to go into. I do a lot of coaching with clients that are kind of at that place. They kind of feel like they've hit the ceiling. They're not really excited about what they're doing. They're not really sure what they want to do in the next chapter of their lives. Or maybe they have a really great business, but because they're not really happy and they're not really centered, and they've been just kind of, so many areas of their life have been mediocre, they stop putting their best foot forward. So now their business is starting to suffer. The income's starting to drop that they have coming in, and they're not spending as much time focused on the business like they should be focused. But the key is that as a man, you got to be doing things that make you happy first. Because if you're not happy, you're not going to be happy in a relationship. And I suspect that that's probably also partly what's going on in your relationship, is you're not really crazy about your life. It's not really that emotionally compelling to you. Maybe it's the career you've chosen, or there's problems going on in your business and you just don't seem to have a passion for it, and you're not centered, and you don't really know what to focus on as a man. I do a lot of phone coaching with guys that are in that situation. In 1 or 2 phone sessions, we can get that totally turned around, and by me just asking you a few simple questions, we can get to the root issue of what's really most important to you, so you can focus on those things. And then once a man starts focusing on what makes him happy, and he gets centered in his masculinity, and he owns that masculine role, everything else tends to take care of itself, especially with the intimate relationships. So with your wife, You got to let her know that I love you and I want to work it out. I want to keep our family together. Obviously, you're moving out. I don't want to give up. And so if you want to divorce me, then that's all on you. You're going to be the one that makes that choice. You go get the divorce attorney and you take care of all that stuff. Because I don't want any part of that. I'm not giving up on our family. If you want to give up on the family and be a quitter, that's great. If that makes you happy, awesome. But I'm not going to participate in that because I want to keep working on things. Yes, I know I've made mistakes and I've apologized over and over. And if you don't want to give me another chance, I understand. That's your right. But I love you and I want to work things out. So give me a call if you change your mind. Obviously, you're going to be seeing her because you've got 3 kids with her. And so what you should do is, like, when you do talk to her and you do see her, is that you have everything planned out in advance, so there's no reason for you and her to be talking 3 or 4 times a day at that point. That way you can be living in your place, and you can start going out, you can start dating, hanging out, having fun, and hooking up with new women. That's what you need to do. You need to do what's going to make you happy, because she's unilaterally leaving your marriage. She's not willing to make the effort anymore. And you chasing after her, in essence, acting like a woman, has just caused her to want to move away from you because the sexual polarity is dissipated. So not only is she upset at you because of the sex cheating, it's like you completely changed and in essence became a woman, which completely ruined any kind of attraction she may have had for you previously. So the best thing that you can do is get centered in yourself, in your life, in your purpose, in your career, your business, whatever it is that you do for a living, and start focusing on that as a man, and that will move you into your masculinity, standing up for the things that you want. I mean, at the end of the day, if she's not willing to make an effort, there's nothing you can do about that. The only thing you really have control over is what you do with your own life, and so you should focus on becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, and be masculine and focus on that, and that will make her feel comfortable, because then you're kind of getting back to the same dude that you used to be, that she fell in love with a long time ago, because you acting like a woman is never going to draw her back into your life. And I would, if you really want to talk about this further and you really would like to save your marriage or have the best possible chance on it, I'd book a phone session with me. But like I said, when she reaches out, get a babysitter. Have somebody watch the kids and invite her over to your place. Tell her to bring a bottle of wine. You can hang out and make dinner together. You can just sit and talk and just start dating her like that again. Hang out, have fun, hook up. Let her do 78% of talking, just like I talk about in my book. So you can start rebuilding that friendship. So you can start talking to her and getting her to open up and express herself and share what's ever on her mind. So let's get into the second email. This guy, I've done several coaching sessions for him, and I've probably answered 8 or 10 of his emails in phone coaching, or actually video coaching newsletters, because he does a lot of email coaching with me. And then one of the reasons why I always like to answer his emails and videos is because he writes a really great email. He's very detailed, and he goes into very specific and explicit problems that he's having. And so it's interesting. We're going to find out a lot more about what he's been going through and what's really kind of the root problems of the problems he's having in his life. He says, "Hey coach, after we examined my love life over the past several phone and email coaching and the video newsletters that you did, it's time for me to work on other areas of my life. Like I told you in the very first email I sent you, my life is a mess. As you know, I play poker professionally." He says, "I started out playing in my mid-20s when I was still going to university. I actually learned about the game when I met a girl I hit on a week before. The local casino offered free tournaments to introduce the game to the public, and she was working on the registration counter. Through studying the material on body language that was offered in the pickup community, I was able to read the other players' body language, and I ended up in 3rd place in the tournament without even knowing the rules. I was so intrigued by the game that I ran to the local bookstore the next day and bought a book on the topic. I uploaded 10 euros to an online casino and was able to run it up to 400 euros in the first month." That's a pretty good return. He says, "and over to 2,000 in the 3rd month. One of my friends told me to check out the local casino because the players there were beyond horrible. Easy money. I was able to make a few $100 on average every evening. And after a year, a friend of mine started to play professionally online, and I saw that he was able to play 20 tables at once. I thought to myself, if he can do it, I can do it. Since then, I've been playing exclusively online. 4 years ago, someone offered me speed to focus better. I was blown away on how my ability to focus was amplified. I was able to work 40 hours straight. That is not fucking healthy, dude. That is definitely not healthy. Your body needs rest. It needs time for downtime so it can recharge, so the cells can regenerate, so it can remove the waste. Because when you stay up that long, your cells, as long as you're moving around, your body is alkaline by design and acidic by function. And so when you're up for 40 hours straight, your cells are constantly secreting acid in your bloodstream, and you're not really getting enough rest so your body can deal with all those metabolic acids. And so it's like you literally start becoming so toxic that it starts killing your cells and causing damage to them when you stay up like that. It's not good for you. Plus, on top of that, you're putting a narcotic into your body, which even though it has good benefits, it at the end of the day is a poison. Everything in moderation. 80% of the time, you want to be totally healthy. 20% of the time, party like a rock star, eat your chocolate cake, drink your alcohol, take your bong swats, do whatever it is that you're going to do. Anytime you do it more than that, then you open yourself up to become an addiction, and then it becomes like an escape from life, and it becomes an escape for dealing with your problems. He says a drug makes your body believe it's in severe danger and releases all of your resources. So it's like constant type of adrenaline being pumped in your body, I would imagine. That is definitely not healthy. In short periods, sure, your body can deal with it. But when you're doing it every day like that, that's just a bad fucking way to go. He says, as you know, there is no effect without a side effect. And after staying awake for that long, your body is a total wreck, and you either need to recover or snore even more through your nose. During the recovery phase, you feel out of energy and depressed. Because here's the interesting thing, is like as a human being, you're going to experience a huge range of emotions. You're going to experience joy, elation, happiness, sadness, depression, anger, all of those things. And when you're on a drug, whether it's alcohol or weed or speed or ecstasy or any kind of stuff like that, what it tends to do is it tends to numb those lower vibrations so you don't really experience them. But things are still happening, and what happens is those feelings that you don't feel because you're on drugs, basically, they get suppressed and they get stored as tension in your nervous system, which is definitely not a good thing. You have to feel it to heal it. And so that's why it's healthy, and you've probably heard me talk about this before, to experience your emotions. If you watch how children experience emotions, they get happy, they're happy. They fall out of the tree, they're crying bloody murder. Mommy comes over, kisses their little boo-boo, and then 5 minutes later, because she's totally present with them, he or she expresses their emotions, crying, screaming, saying what's wrong. And then 5 minutes later, they're running around, chasing their brothers and sisters again, climbing the tree and falling back out of it again before the next time. But it's like they're totally present with their emotions. But as we grow up, especially as men, we're taught that, hey, it's not cool to cry. You shouldn't feel those things. And so what we do is we try to avoid it. And what you resist will persist in life, especially any negative emotions. Because, I mean, who wants to feel sad and depressed or angry? But you got to feel it to heal it. You got to be 100% present and authentic with those emotions because they're part of you. It's part of the human condition. That's why we experience a high range of emotions. And the more that's why I spend such a great amount of time focusing on doing things that you really love for a living, hanging out with the kind of people that uplift you and encourage you and celebrate you. You don't want to hang out with people that just tolerate you. You want to hang out with people that celebrate you and just love you for you and don't expect you to change or be a certain way so that they don't get offended. And the more that you can do that, the more successful you are and the more options you have, the better you're going to take care of your body, the more inclined you are to go work out, the more inclined you are to eat organic foods and juice vegetables and things of that nature, or get into like network chiropractic care or just chiropractic care in general. Chiropractic overall is a very great healing modality to incorporate in taking care of your body. But obviously if you're broke as a joke and you're stressed out all the time and you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to be eating very healthy diet, and you're probably not going to be working out on a regular basis. And that's going to affect your overall health. And if your body's not feeling real well, guess what? You're going to feel like shit, which is going to affect your ability to show up and really kick ass in your career or your business or do the things that you need to do. I mean, that's why I say it's like if you're not happy, if you're not healthy, if you're not doing something you love for a living, it's going to be really hard to have a great relationship with a really kick-ass, spectacular woman because you're just simply not happy. If you go into it thinking, oh, if I could just get this amazing woman, then I'm going to be happy. Well, once the infatuation and the honeymoon period wears off, then you're still faced with the fact that your life sucks and you're not enjoying yourself. And then once that wears off, you realize that, wow, this woman couldn't make me happy. As amazing as she is, I'm still not happy. And then you're going to be even more miserable because now this person outside of yourself that you thought you needed to make you happy, guess what? She still ain't making you happy. That's why you have to deal with your core issues, and that's why I spend such a major amount of time on that, is because like whatever it is that you do for a living, that's where you're going to spend most of your time. And so it needs to be something that's really emotionally compelling, that you're good at and you're exciting, that you find exciting to you. Like obviously this guy, we just kind of stumbled across being a poker player, and he was very good at it. And it's very compelling to him. Obviously he's making good money at it as well. But he's got these other things going on in his life, these other unhealthy habits, and it affects all parts. It causes him to create unnecessary drama in his relationship. That's why his girlfriend tends to call him a drama king sometimes. Because he just expresses emotions, but sometimes he's just feeling like shit. And what I think is so cool about his girlfriend is she's like, maybe we should just have sex. And so they have sex a couple times, and then it totally changes his attitudes. Because obviously that produces dopamine in your body, which is a natural antidepressant. So if you're depressed, have sex. That'll make you feel a hell of a lot better. It'll make you feel closer to another human being. He says, after a while, I had fear of failure, and the drug helped me to numb that feeling. See, that's interesting. People will do more to avoid pain than they will do to gain pleasure. And so you have this, it's just like the actor that I did a video coaching newsletter for the other day. His fear of failure was preventing him from going to certain casting calls that he was getting the opportunity to go. And there's tens of thousands of actors all over the world that are just dying to be able to have the chance to go in and read for that part. And he's like, I don't want to do that because I don't think I'm going to be able to get it. And so it's like he's already given up before he even went. Instead of focusing on just showcasing his talents and giving the best audition he can give, he was focused on whether or not he thought he was going to be able to get a paycheck or not out of it, which is completely the wrong way to focus at it. As a human being, whatever it is that you do in life, you got to focus on being excellent at it, at being awesome at it, at being passionate about it. That's how you get to become a great human being and become really good at doing something that you love and you have passion for. Repetition is the mother of skill, after all. So he says, after a while, I had a fear of failure, and the drug helped me numb that feeling. It kept me motivated. I definitely play worse while I am on it, and I have less emotional control. Poker is a sport, which means a healthy diet helps you gain a clear mind, and exercise keeps you energized. And as in other sports, you need to review your play and learn the underlying theory. I was taking the drug to compensate for it, and it at least made me feel that way. I don't know why I even have that fear. Well, human beings all have two primary fears. A, fear that they're not enough. In other words, fear that you don't have what it takes. And B, fear that you won't be loved and accepted by your friends, family, peer group, lovers. And so we're trying to avoid fearful potential outcomes from happening, and we usually end up running the opposite way. We eat too much, we drink too much, we do drugs, we exercise excessively, we sleep excessively, things of that nature, because we try to avoid what we're afraid of happening, and all we end up doing is make happen what we're afraid of. What you resist persists, but what you look at disappears. He says, I've played 7 million hands of poker in my life so far, and I've never had a losing month. It's a pretty good fucking track record, dude. He says, when I am sober, I procrastinate and try to find things to distract myself. You got to learn to think in terms of, what are the consequences? What are the painful consequences of me procrastinating right now? It's going to cost me money. It's going to affect my relationship negatively and create unnecessary drama, which could potentially lead to my girlfriend getting tired of my bullshit and breaking up with me. It's going to prevent me from making the kind of money I'm really capable of making, which obviously is going to give me a lot more choices in life. You got to think in terms of what are you going to lose and what are you going to miss out on when you take the actions that you choose to not take the actions that you know you need to take, or in this particular case, choose to do drugs in order to escape. It's just like going to the gym. It's raining, I don't feel like it. What are the consequences? Well, it's going to affect how I feel. It's going to affect my skin. It's going to affect my overall, my brain clarity and my ability to think clearly, which obviously in this particular case, he really needs that. So everything has consequences. And so when you feel like being lazy or taking drugs or eating excessively or not going to the gym or not going to those job interviews or trying to change a job if the job you have sucks or starting that business on the side that you know you should start on the side, think about what are the consequences. What are you going to miss out on 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What are the painful consequences of you not taking the actions you know you need to take? That's what you need to take in terms of. That was something that was really eye-opening that I learned from Tony Robbins fucking 25 years ago. Can't believe it was that long, but it was a long time ago. And that's why I think that way. I started out, I used to write that stuff down. Now I don't have to do that anymore. I just think this way. It completely changed the way I look at things. When I don't feel like doing something, when I feel like being lazy, and it's good to be lazy at times. It's just like what John Lennon said. Time you enjoy wasting was not wasted time. But obviously when you know you should do certain things, you think, what's this going to cost me? What are the painful consequences? He says, I haven't done theory or hand reviews since over a year, and I don't work nearly enough as I should. I don't even have a regular work schedule. The only thing that keeps me in the game is raw talent. But it also means I don't realize my full potential. How does that feel? How do you feel about yourself and the fact that you're not reaching your full potential? Does that make you feel good, or does that make you feel shitty? And think in terms of, great, what are the positive consequences of taking the actions that you know you need to take? I'm going to reach my full potential. I'm going to make 10 times the amount of money I'm making right now. And if I make 10 times the amount of money I'm making right now, guess what? I'm going to have more choices. I can go to nicer places. I can take my girl with me. I can experience more of the blessings that this world has to offer. I'm going to feel good about myself. The more money I make, the more I'm going to hang out with other people that make a lot of money. And when you hang out with other like-minded people, they encourage you and they lift you up and they challenge you to become even better than what you are right now. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the expectations of your peer group and the quality of the people that you spend your time with consistently. He says, when other professionals hear me analyze a hand, they always ask me why I don't play higher, meaning a higher dollar value poker. He says, in addition to that, I don't have any money management skills. It's not that you don't have money management skills. It's like I had a business partner for a lot of years, and didn't matter how much money he made. It's like as fast as it came in, it went out. He was always buying things. I may need this someday. Hey, here's a couple of jet skis. I may need these someday. He had 3 or 4 houses, and he had 3 or 4 mortgage payments. He's only living in one of them. I may move into one of them someday. Here's this car. It's a great deal. Let me buy that right now. It's like he felt like he had to get rid of it. And he was in a constant state of being broke. And even now to this day, he's fucking totally broke as a joke. He hasn't made any real money since we were in business together. And he constantly avoids doing the things that he knows he needs to make because ultimately at the end of the day, he's afraid to fail. He's scared. And so he tends to major in minor things in life because his fear is so overwhelming and being broke is his natural state that he's in his 70s at this point. And that's pretty much, that's what he's going to do with his life. And he's never going to reach his full potential. And I feel bad for him. But no amount of my feeling bad for him, just like me feeling bad for you that haven't reached your full potential yet, is going to do anything to help you or my ex-partner. The only thing I can personally do is I have control over what I choose to do or choose not to do with my own life. He says, it doesn't matter how much I make, I always find a way to spend it all. Your revenue should always exceed your expenses. And no matter what, 20% of what you make every month should go into a bank account and it stays there and you can't fucking touch it. Period. End of story. And if you need to save up some money so you can keep going to higher and higher tables as far as what you risk in playing poker, then put a certain percentage of your earnings over and above your 20% that you're going to save every month aside. Maybe an extra 10% or 20% of of what you earn every month goes into another bank account to strictly be used at the poker table. Anything else over and above that, you can fucking piss it away and party like a rock star. So 20% goes into savings, you can never touch it. 20% goes in your poker account to be used for reinvesting in your poker business. And then everything else over and above that, guess what? You can fucking piss it away and party and live the good life. The bottom line is your revenues cannot exceed your expenses. If you make that subtle tweak to your budget and you discipline yourself, you can even set it up on automatic withdrawal to have that money come right out of your account every month, go into those two separate bank accounts. One's for capital investment in your business, and the other one is for savings that you just can't ever touch. You'll be fine, and you will continue to see your bank accounts grow, because at some point you're probably going to retire, and that's what you'll end up living off. You'll make enough money to the point where you can put that money to work for you in real estate or stocks or some kind of investment that you have a passion for and you're knowledgeable in, and you can have your money making you money, and then you can live off that interest. You can live off what you make off of it. He says, therefore, I lack the capital to play as high as my skills would allow, and I could have been a millionaire by now and live on my interest, but I sabotage myself. I know that a lot of people would wish for the opportunity that I have, and I'm wasting it. Even Jared Tendler said in his book, The Mental Game of Poker, if you fail to get your mental game in check, you are like all the people who won the lottery and waste it all, or something along those lines. Because my talent is keeping me in the 3% of all players that make money regularly, but if I would put everything I got, I would belong in the top 0.25% or 0.1%. I really start doubting if it's the right path for me. The fear of failure makes working hell. I haven't been working a normal job in my life, and since I lack experience, I'm stuck on this path. Well, obviously you're good at it and you have a passion for it, because you wouldn't have stuck with it this long if you didn't really enjoy it. But obviously you've got some unhealthy habits, and I would say some unhealthy addictions centered around this. And with just a few subtle tweaks, like I said, the automatic withdrawal out of your account where 20% of your earnings go into your savings and you can't fucking touch it, and another 20% goes for capital investment so you can step up to that next level of poker playing. If you discipline yourself to follow that, and then whatever else you make over and above that 40%, that means you can piss away 60% of your money. And guess what? Your bank accounts will always grow if you do that. It's like those are the subtle differences that make the difference, dude. He says, all of the above described problems are the cause of my relationship problems and my negativity. I even told my girlfriend about what I did, and why she is still with me is a mystery to me. Thanks in advance for your input. Maybe a Skype coaching session would help. Yeah, I would say definitely book another phone or Skype session, and we can really spend more time drilling down over this. But those are kind of the basics that I would focus on for now, is make that simple adjustment with your bank account with the knowledge that you can spend 60% of your earnings, and then 40% of it you can't touch. 20% is for capital reinvestment, 20% goes into your retirement, so eventually you can put that money to work for you. So let's get into the third and final email. And this guy says, hey Corey, I want to share my situation with you. I've been with my girlfriend for almost 7 months now. Overall, she's a great girl, and I noticed that she's become more and more affectionate towards me over time. She's actually been reaching out to me almost 100% of the time for the last few months. That's really good. That's the way it's supposed to be, because at the end of the day, feminine energy is about bonding and connection. He says, I always respond to her and leave her with a smile on her face because I'm naturally quite funny, laid back, and never take things too seriously in life. I basically look at the big picture and find a positive energy in every situation. You're a glasses half full kind of guy. That's the best way to be. Because it's like when something shitty happens in life, you think to yourself, okay, this crappy thing happened. I can't do anything about it, but I can control what it means to me. So what's good about this? What can I learn from this? How can this help me become a better man? How can this help me become a better person? And just like, the guy that I was talking to in the previous email, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. He says, however, she's quite the opposite. She tends to focus on the small things which I consider insignificant, and I find her to be quite insecure. Well, pretty much all women are insecure to some degree, even the most confident, the most successful, and the most beautiful women, because I've met a lot of them and I coach a lot of them. And they all got insecurities and fears and doubts, whether it's about their looks or about their attractiveness or their sex appeal, or they fear that a guy's going to become bored with them, or that they're going to lose their talent, whatever it happens to be. So that's totally natural. What women tend to do is they tend to take those little problems in life and they tend to blow them up like, oh my God, this is so big, and what am I going to do? And they're very fearful. But that's what us guys do. We tend to look at the big problems, the things that they're all worried about, and we help them by talking to them and communicating with them properly by asking things such as, do you want me to listen, or do you want my advice? And you help them work through, because women solve their problems by talking about them. And just getting your girl to talk is therapeutic for her. It'll make her feel better, because then it makes her feel like, wow, he really cares about me as a person. He really cares about my well-being. And if she wants your advice, you can come up with a simple solution and help her implement it, thereby taking her big problem, make it into a little problem. And that's part of that's one of the fun things in a relationship, is that's how you complement each other. It's the yin and the yang. He says, then again, no girl I've ever dated has been as confident and secure with themselves as I have. Well, that's being confident is a masculine quality anyway. So men are naturally, usually, more confident than most women are. In some aspects, I would say. So he says, so some amount of insecurity is normal because it's a feminine thing. That's correct. The way I deal with it is like this. I basically listen carefully to what she says to me, and I manage to put a positive spin on everything and make it seem like it's no big deal. And she always ends up happier after that. Very good fucking job. Because you're in your masculine. You're being centered. You're acting like an alpha male, which obviously is the title of this video. And since you act like an alpha male, guess what? She responds. She feels comfortable letting you take the lead and be the leader in the relationship. And that way she can back off and just look hot and receive you and receive your strength. He says her insecurity stems from the way her mom treated her for the last 29 years. Her mom would put a lot of unnecessary pressure on her and make life difficult, but she would always treat the males in the family much better. She basically favored the boys more, so my girlfriend's brother got a lot more attention than her while growing up. And he basically had everything handed to him on a plate, whereas she had to go through a lot of crap to get to where she is now. That tells me her mother was projecting a lot of her own self-hatred and self-loathing onto her daughter. Tell your girlfriend this: no one will ever do or say anything that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. And also tell her this: no one will ever do or say anything to you that you don't invite them to do. And so let your girlfriend know if her mother's being abusive to her verbally, she needs to say, Mom, I love you, but don't fucking talk to me that way. Don't be disrespectful like that. If you love me, then treat me with love and respect. Because if you're not going to treat me this way, I'm going to leave, and you can call me later when you want to be nice and apologize, because this is bullshit. Just like that. He says, as a result of this, probably, he says, I've noticed she has some sort of OCD tendencies, and she seems to hoard a lot of unnecessary things. That was interesting. My old business partner was like, he was always buying shit. Like, I may need this 2x4 someday. He's like, he never builds anything. He's like, what do you... He's got a fucking shed full of wood. He'll never use it. It just sits out there and fucking rots. And part of that is you don't get the love that you feel you deserve in childhood, so you try to make up for it by having things. In other words, by having lots of more things, it makes up for the fact that you're not getting lots of love that you want. He says, we have been living together for a week now, and it's been okay because I'm always busy with my life, such as work, gym, and with my friends after work, and then I come home later in the evening, and she's always happy to see me. Good. Never fucking stop being that guy. That's what an alpha male is all about. You're centered in your purpose and your mission, and just because your goddess lives with you doesn't mean that you stop living your life. Even if you have kids with her someday, you still got to be this guy who's interesting and fun, and he's off hanging out with his friends at times, and that way she can miss you and wonder about you and wonder what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, it's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. He says, so in other words, I'm still a challenge for her because I continue to stick with my mission in life, and I take her out for a fun night at the movies or dinner every few nights, or we just hang out together, but I'm rarely at home just sitting there doing nothing. Good for you, dude. Good fucking job. He says she's very selective in whom she dates, or so she says, and her attraction level in me has been very high over the last number of months. When I first met her, she laughed at all of my lame jokes, and she did give me indications of attraction, such as touching her hair, keeping her eyes only on me, touching me, and following that initial meeting, I waited a good few days to message her and set a definite date. So basically, I kept following that procedure nonstop. Set a date, get off the phone, and continue with my life. Perfect. Good fucking job. The first few months of us dating, she's been relentless in trying to get me to dress the way she wants me to, etc. That'll never stop. Women think of us as like Ken and Barbie. They want to dress us up. And every once in a while, you can let her dress the way she wants. But other than that, if something feels comfortable, wear that. And if she doesn't like it, I don't care. You got to be that way because it's you. It's your personality. But she's still going to try to see if she can wear you down. Why? Because she's always testing your strength to see what you're fucking made of. He says, I always just ignored it like a cool guy and showed her through my body language that I'm not changing how I dress, period. I even let go of her hand and I'd walk away a bit and look at other things while we're shopping. She'd come running to me and grab my hand again, and I noticed her attraction grew for me more because of this. She actually, that's what being her rock and being her mountain is. She actually insisted on me wearing a scarf, lol. Fuck that shit. This is absolutely nothing like my style, and if I end up dressing how she wants me to, how could she honestly respect me if she's able to remold me? Well, just every once in a while give in to her a little bit. Wear a suit. Women like us to be dressed sharp. Sometimes for a special occasion, but just make sure most of the time you're doing what you want. He says, the way I currently dress is awesome, and it's part of what got her attracted to me in the first place. Well, keep doing that, dude. He says, I'm not changing my character for anyone. Good. That's what an alpha male is all about. And that's what why women are typically tend to be drawn to the bad boys, is because they just don't give a fuck what other people think. But the problem is the bad boys tend to be fucking assholes on top of that, and they mistreat women. So initially when a woman starts dating a bad boy or the jerk, the jerk tends to be controlling. Why? Because deep down he's fearful, and he's weak, and he's insecure about himself. He doesn't think she'll stick around, and so instead he's an asshole to her. In other words, he's confident. If she cries, he doesn't fucking care. If she's upset, he doesn't fucking care. He goes about his life, he says, hey, if you want to come with me, great. If not, call me later. He doesn't give a shit. But eventually every woman that dates a guy like that realizes he's just a fucking asshole, and they fall out of love with him and they leave him. He says she never knows. Well, not all women, I should say. Some women stay with guys like that for a long time. He says she never knows what I'm thinking, and she said she doesn't like that, yet she finds it quite interesting. It's so true. Because they're always going to try to figure out what you're thinking. And if she's trying to figure out what you're thinking, guess what? That has a positive effect on her attraction level for you. So even though she says she doesn't like it, guess what? She's still with you, and she still fucking loves you. That's the only thing that matters. But that's the thing. This is all how they subtly test you to see what you're made of, if you really have those big balls that she sees you having. But that's part of testing your strength. And if you're always centered, you'll notice these little tests like that, and you'll just kind of have that little James Bond smirk. Sure, I'll just... okay, yeah, I'm going to change the way I dress for you. Sure. Yep, I'm always going to start telling you what I'm thinking. Not... Play with her. Be tease her about it. Be playful. She never know. He says she told me that she gets insecure because she usually has negative thoughts about everything, which I misinterpreted as bitchy behavior. And when she is unable to read me, she thinks I'm going to break up with her or find someone better. That's when you fucking grab her by the belt buckle or put your arms around her and pull her close and say, you look fucking ravishing. Whenever she goes, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you don't make me feel loved, just fucking grab her and pull her and kiss her and say, you look so fucking hot today. You are my queen, baby. Let's go do something fun. Spin her around, spank her in the butt and say, go get dressed. We're going to go out. Where are you taking me? It's not your fucking business. Go get dressed. Just like that. Because she's basically saying you're not loving me, and then you instantly give that to her. That's what you do. Don't sit there and start arguing with her or rationalizing or trying to justify your behavior. Just instantly give her what she says she's wanting. Even if she's whining about it, just love her and say, you're being a jackass. You know I love you. Have I ever told you how sexy your fucking lips are? He says, so last night we had a chat, and I was calm and nice to her, looked her straight in the eyes, and told her as directly as possible that I'm not going to change how I dress simply because I don't want to dress the way she suggests. At the end of the day, you were dressing this way before you met her, and after all this time, she's still with you. She fell in love with you, even though you continue to dress the same way. He says, she then proceeded to tell me how she feels about her relationship and all of her insecurities, and I just listened to her, and then we kissed. She then asked me, why do I never talk about myself to her? So I told her, well, you've never asked me anything. Ask and I shall tell. So she started asking me about ex-girlfriends, etc., and I just answered her honestly, briefly, and to the point. And when it comes to that, I'd say, you know what? All my ex-girlfriends were a gift in my life. They made me this amazing man that you love today. You know what? I don't really care to live the past. It's just not important. You know, besides, gentlemen don't kiss and tell anyways. He says, then we went to bed and I gave her an awesome orgasm by licking her nipples and playing with her down there. She was extremely happy and fell asleep. However, my hard-on was still there and I had to go to sleep with blue balls. Well, that's your fucking fault, dude. He says, the least she could have done was give me a blowjob. Did you ask? It's called communication, bro. He says, P.S. Her moving in with me was her idea, not mine. Good. And she also talks about marriage and kids. Dude, you're fucking doing great, man. It sounds like you got a really typical, great, awesome woman. Keep doing what you're doing. And if you wanted a blowjob when you woke up the next day, you just said, baby, you know what? I went to bed last night. You passed out with a big smile on your face. And you had your happy finish. But you know what? My dick was so hard. I cut fucking diamonds. I was walking around all night banging in the fucking walls with a boner. And my dick's really sore today. So why don't you jump on top of me and fucking take care of that right now with a smile on your face? Because I love you. And I really like a happy finish right now. And she'd be like, sure, baby. Because you had a great evening together, obviously. But like I said, you're doing fucking great, man. I think that's awesome. That was a great email. Thanks for sharing. So if you have a question or a situation or a challenge you'd like to get my help personally with, the quickest way is to go to my website, book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session with yours truly by clicking the products tab on any page of my website and follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.